Hey guys, it's Bart coming at you with another episode of the Back Row Fantasy Show. And of course, today is the IDP primer with we'll do some offensive primer too. Not a ton of guys to talk about on offense, but it is always worth adding in at least my pickups that I'm looking towards making this week. So last week, if you listened to the first IDP primer, I suggested guys like Nick Williams, Dre Kirkpatrick, Devondre Campbell, Whitehead, the safety from the Browns, and Eric Harris, safety for the Raiders. If you listen to that advice and pick some of these guys up, Whitehead and Harris provided you 10 points last week. Devondre Campbell had another 10-tackle game. Dre Kirkpatrick, 12.5 points last week, at least in our league format. I don't know how you guys score your IDP leagues, but they had good weeks, bottom line. So hopefully that helped you to a win in your IDP leagues, and let's try to help you to another one. Okay, before I get to the defense, let me throw out a few offensive names from last week that I'm looking at and keeping eyes on. Duke Williams, Buffalo Bills, to me, he's the top pickup this week on offense, not only because he had a solid showing last week for the Bills, but the Bills traded Zay Jones to the Raiders, and to me, it's not a coincidence. They like Duke Williams. They promoted him from the practice squad. They were excited to see what he could do. He provided a return on the low snap count and the target. So I think Duke Williams is a guy that could go right into that lineup. John Brown, Cole Beasley, they've looked okay, but they're not game changers. Maybe Duke Williams is. When you've got a guy that could be a game changer that a team believes in, you take a chance on him. So pick him up off waivers if possible. Delvin Hodges, quarterback for Pittsburgh. I'm not looking for anything good out of him, but in case you don't have time to read news clips, he's probably going to get a start this week. So if you needed a bye week quarterback, Delvin Hodges should be a cheap one that you can pick up, start, and hope for the best. Reggie Bonifon, the Carolina Panthers. First major game action. To me, 5 carries is major game action, but he took full advantage of his 5 carries, the scraps from Christian McCaffrey. 5 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown. He's a guy worth keeping eyes on if Christian McCaffrey were to unfortunately get injured, or if maybe Bonifon starts carrying 5 to 10 a game. Maybe they change up McCaffrey's load. They've really laid a lot on his plate over the first 5 games. So maybe Bonifon gets enough carries to be bye-week relevant, so I'd keep eyes on him. Byron Pringle, Kansas City Chiefs, big week. Only problem there is you never know who's going to have the big week in Kansas City, but as long as Tyreek Hill is out, as long as Sammy Watkins misses time, Byron Pringle, worth a look. I wouldn't pay a lot because I don't expect many of these games from him, but he obviously can play in the league. So in deep dynasty leagues, you pick up a guy like that if you've got the space. Deep dive, Vincent Smith of the Jets. The team has said that they want his role to increase. He kind of made the most of his opportunity last week. 1 target, touchdown. Actually, it was a rushing carry, but he got a touchdown on it. So the Jets, devoid of playmakers, they're looking for people to help him out. Vincent Smith, they're high on the kid. He's worth a look on offense as well. Last one, Darren Fells, Houston Texans. Kind of like a Kansas City wide receiver situation. We never know who's going to be the Texans' top tight end. But this past week it was Darren Fells, and he's had 2 good weeks out of the last 3. If you're tight end poor, he's worth a pickup. You may as well. He could provide dividends. Maybe he emerges as the guy in that offense at the tight end position. Let's go to defense. Defense, I'm going to start out on the defensive ends like usual. Marcus Davenport, he was a guy I was disappointed in on last week's show, but he's a guy that I'm always keeping eyes on because as soon as he has a good game or two, you may want to pick him up. Last week he had 2 sacks. That caught my eyes. So Davenport's a guy I'm looking at defensive end, hoping he rides that 2-sack wave into at least 1 more sack next week. Brandon Graham, Philadelphia Eagles defensive end, he's got 3 sacks over the last week. To me, that's upswing. Brandon Graham's always had the talent, just been inconsistent. But again, if you're hurting at that position, worth a look. Jonathan Bullard, Cardinals. This guy didn't play early on in the season. Last 2 games, been solid, 8-point average over the last 2 games. He's a deeper sleeper as far as waivers go. So Jonathan Bullard's a guy I'm looking at. Rookie for the Giants, Dexter Lawrence, first-round draft pick, 2 sacks over the last 3 games. And again, his snap count has increased over those games, so he's a behemoth that can get to the quarterback. Maybe worth a look if those other guys get taken, and you can grab this guy for next to nothing after waivers have ran, which, most leagues, I assume waivers run on Tuesday, but in our Dynasty leagues, we do Wednesday and Saturday. If your leagues run waivers on Tuesday and you want waiver advice, be sure to hit us up on Twitter at The Back Row Show, or personally at Bark Back Row, at Arms Back Row. We'll be glad to help you out. But my primer, IDP primer every week, these guys you can typically pick up after waivers have ran. That's kind of the focus. So let's move on to defensive backs. Last week I suggested corner. Corners are putting up points in the league, and I'm going to go back to that this week because they're still doing it. Ryan Logan, Tennessee Titans, 8 total tackles in 3 of 5 games. That's money. Ryan Logan, he's on a lot of rosters, but he's on a lot of waivers too. If he's on waivers and you need help, grab him. He's my top pickup this week as far as defensive backs go. Next up, you got Kevin King of the Green Bay Packers. He has had a very good 9-point average over 5 games. Looking good. Green Bay's getting thrown out a lot because they're getting ahead in games thanks to Aaron Jones. So Kevin King, prime pickup, my number 2 pickup for the week at defensive back. And my third and last one, which you can look through. There's a lot of cornerbacks scoring points right now. I'm just trying to find the best options. Josh Norman, big name, usually on waivers, 9 points a game on defense, and the defense has been on the field a lot. Washington is terrible, so Josh Norman is a very solid pickup for now and for the next several weeks. Let's move on finally to the last position, the most important in IDP leagues. That's linebacker. My number 1 pickup this week is a guy I've had eyes on for a couple weeks, but I hate picking up those sack-dependent linebackers. But Harold Landry of the Tennessee Titans is currently dominating with his play from the outside linebacker position. He really started to heat up in the last game, multiple sacks, plenty of tackles. This guy is going to give you tackles and sacks. Seemingly, looks like that's going to be the case. So Harold Landry, worth a grab. You could plug him in as a linebacker 3 all day, every day, compared to some of the other folks out there that have disappointed. So he's my number 1 linebacker pickup. Hopefully, I snag him in all leagues. I'm starting to believe the talent of Harold Landry. Bud Dupree, Pittsburgh Steelers. He's always shown flashes of being a producer in IDP fantasy, but right now he's mixing in a solid amount of tackles with sacks. I don't think you can go wrong having Bud Dupree on your roster. Definitely guys that I can drop in all of my leagues to pick up Bud Dupree. So he's number 2 on my pickups for the week. Michael Kendricks is number 3. I thought this dude was going to prison. Apparently, that's not happening anytime soon. He's been playing pretty well, averaging 8 points a game, better than a ton of linebackers on rosters right now. You should be able to get him for next to nothing. A guy that you can get for nothing, Kevin Minter, Arizona Cardinals. Last 4 games, he's averaging 10 points a game. The Cardinals have Jordan Hicks, who's performing well. They also have Hassan Reddick, who's performing well. Now they got Kevin Minter. Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin Minter's a Buccaneer. Anyways, my bad. Kevin Minter of the Bucs, he played for the Cardinals last year. Look at that. You get in a hurry, you start talking, you start spitting that game, and you mess up the team. So Kevin Minter, Buccaneers, this guy's a journeyman. He produces pretty much everywhere he goes. He's going to produce for the Buccaneers as well. They've had injury issues, so the reason he's down on my list, he could lose his job at any moment due to a guy not being injured, not being nicked up. But when he's in there, he produces. So if you got room for a 5th linebacker, this guy's perfect. Deepest of the deep, Nicholas Morrow in Oakland. He has stepped up over the past few games. His snap count is up. His stats are up. Vontaze Burfict's out for the year. We all knew that Tahir Whitehead would benefit, but Nicholas Morrow is also benefiting because his playing time is upticked. He has been in our conversations over the past couple years. He has produced when given the chance. Looks like he's going to get the chance. Maybe he runs with it. These are the type of guys you want to throw a football dollar or 2 at or a waiver claim at, just in case. He could be huge. So there you go. Nicholas Morrow, linebacker. bam, IDP primer, week 6 upcoming. Don't be afraid to pick up those guys on bye weeks as well. I apologize for the Nick Kwiatkowski pickup. Roquan Smith did come back last week, so Kwiatkowski basically got ousted. But keep an eye on him. Anytime he gets a chance to be reinserted into the starting lineup, Kwiatkowski produces results. Thanks for listening. Hopefully this week's IDP/offensive primer, small offensive primer, helps you win in week 6. Look forward to hearing from you guys with your questions or with just suggestions for other shows, primers included. We'll see you on Saturday morning when the next full episode with 3 hosts release. That will be Aaron Arms. Aaron Arms will be taking over the show this week. I am out this week. Got a place to be, places to go. But thanks for listening. Barks out. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. But be sure to tune in for Saturday's episode with Arms leading the show. There will be no tomfoolery. Let's talk about football. You got your wish, Arms. Peace out, guys.